Welcome. This is AllMinucOne Quick Shots. So, folks, last night we had a vice presidential debate. And imagine this: the people on the left are saying Kamala Harris won, and the people on the right are saying Mike Pence won. Well, frankly, I think the American people won because I believe Mike Pence did quite a good job and dominated the show. He essentially went out there, spoke over his time, showing dominance and showing that Kamala Harris couldn't quite portray that kind of strength. And she would say things like, excuse me, I'm talking, and it was very shrill and not very good image-wise. Remember, it's said all the time in politics, but you go back to when Nixon first ran for president and he looked terrible. Optics are a big deal. People don't tend to vote really for issues. And if they do vote for issues, they vote for singular issues. So people will vote for abortion. And therefore, if they're pro-abortion, they're always just going to vote on the left. That's the singular issue that matters to them. I think that's a silly way to vote. That's why I don't like political parties, but it's what people do. One big thing that was brought up was the banning of fracking. Now, Mike Pence went after Kamala Harris on this, and she denied that they would do such a thing. Unfortunately, though, we live in the internet age, and there are numerous clips where she said that she would. There were clips where Joe Biden said that he would. They want to do this for a globalist, environmentalist agenda. And let me explain something to you folks. Fracking in the United States has allowed for the U.S. to have energy independence. And this is very important because if you want to have a strong nation and a strong country, you need to be independent of other nations. If you are too closely tied to the strength of another nation and that nation falls or crumbles or they get mad at you, let's say, then you are in a position of weakness. Now, I don't like foreign wars either. I don't like foreign intervention. And we will fight foreign wars and we will intervene in foreign affairs like we did in the first Gulf War because of Kuwait and Saudi Arabia and their oil versus Iraq. And one of the reasons why the Russians are seen as enemies is because of their energy. It's not so much of the old communist wave. You must understand that Russia has a GDP the size of Texas and a population much larger. In fact, their population is very close to what we have. So get it in your mind that what rules the world, or what has ruled the world as far as establishment politics goes, is oil and energy. And all this stuff talking about the Green New Deal or going to renewable energies, that's fine and dandy, but it has been studied over and over and over again, and it is not really feasible. If you want to go green, the way to do it is to go nuclear, but the lefties don't like that either. The Paris Climate Accord is something that Kamala Harris would like to go back into. And I know, again, the zealots out there on the left who are the crazy environmentalists want to go into this Paris Climate Accord. Except for the United States has dropped more emissions and has cleaned the environment more since we've gotten out of it. The only reason to have the Paris Climate Accord is to be stuck in these international type trade deals and to lose more national sovereignty. Now, maybe you like that idea. I think you're foolish. That's like saying, I want to lose my own personal sovereignty. I want to give it over to somebody else. Why would I want to give my own personal sovereignty over to somebody else? Now, don't get me wrong. You folks out there do it all the time. You do it all the time when you're afraid to defend yourselves. You talk about how the police will be there. Of course, there's this crazy leftist movement now that wants to abolish the police. So I don't know how you can be anti-gun and anti-police unless you live in some utopian world where everyone's just going to kumbaya and get along. That doesn't seem to be the case in the streets with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, though. They like to beat people a lot. And worse. There have been many criminals, many thugs that have gone out and shot people. But anyways, getting back to the debate, Kamala Harris is just an establishment candidate and wants to continue to grow the government. When they point out healthcare, they can attack the Trump administration all they want about the abolishment of the idea of pre-existing conditions or Obamacare or any of that stuff. Look, guys, the reality is the more the government is involved in healthcare, the more expensive it gets. I had a very good job at a county level government, and I had very cheap insurance. It was like $100 a month for me to be covered. Like 90% of my costs were covered by the county. And that was me and my family at the time when I was married. I had 2 stepkids and my daughter. Very cheap. And when Obamacare went into existence, premiums went up for most people, but not for us because, again, the county government covered it. But they told us that we had what was called a platinum plan under Obamacare, so things would go up for us because we were punished for having good health care. See, the problem with socialistic programs is they don't make things cheaper. What they do is they bring everyone down to a common denominator, or they punish those who would have more. So unless you have that backing of, say, a county government that just can spend and get money from the state or tax itself to wealth, you're not going to have good health care. I knew people that took the job that I had merely because the health care. It was one of the main attractors to get people to work in a jail. In fact, it was really the reason why I started working there, because I was offered the job and I had a daughter on the way. My wife was pregnant at the time, and that was a huge incentive for me. And I was perfectly fine where I was at before that. I barely got a pay raise. I think it was at the time, it was a $2 an hour pay raise. But the healthcare was important. And I know people that they've had their premiums and whatever else go up multiple times. My healthcare, personally, is not covered. I have to go down to the VA. My wife covers my daughter, but in order to cover me, it's something like $1,500 a month. And then, we have another like $10,000 deductible. So what in the hell is the point? Well, that's all because of the government, folks. That's all because the government infiltrated all that. It's not because of free market healthcare. And we could have a basic base care level healthcare. I would actually be kind of okay with that, even though I don't like socialistic ideas. But we don't do that. We want to prop up these third parties and these insurance companies, and it's all corporatism, and that's what Kamala Harris and Biden are all about. No, I'm not going to sit here and claim that Trump doesn't do a little bit of that, but he is apparently trying to get the cost of prescription drugs down. So there was that, and I believe that Pence did a good job kind of negating that. Then there's the economy, which is really the big one, because the Democrats want to keep saying, oh, Trump's economy is horrible. Well, yeah, this virus that everyone freaked out about for no reason caused the economic crash. You cannot blame that after 3 years of deregulations and a rising in wages for the average person. And I mean, literally, we can watch this, we can track this. In fact, I made a video the other day, last week, something like that covered this briefly. There was a rising in wages of people, substantial, and the tax cuts. And when she talks about how they won't cut taxes for people under $400,000, that would be the 99% of folks out there. Well, what she's not telling you is they're just going to let the Trump taxes expire. So they're just going to raise your taxes, folks. And an average middle income individual, or middle class person, lower middle class person, got something like a $2,000 break. I know my wife got an extra couple $100. It's really amazing to me, and that people fall for this stuff based on pure rhetoric, and they never look at things deeper and more logically. And then, of course, they got a little bit into the Supreme Court bid, which wasn't that big of a deal. Pence pushed her on if, you're going to stack the courts, which she wouldn't answer. Biden wouldn't either, because of course they'll stack the courts. This is actually how FDR got all of his New Deal stuff in, because he threatened the court that he would just stack it. And the court all of a sudden quit striking down his legislation that was unconstitutional, folks. Very much so. But, I'm not going to say much more than that. There's all kinds of people opining on this today. That's kind of the big topic. I'm going to get to a longer segment video, and I hope you guys run over and watch that when it's all done. But with all that said, this has been All Minus One Quick Shots, and I wish you all well.